Go.
Okay, so whenever I'm looking at what we have for our test prep section here, and then thinking about the mini lesson, and so I noticed that we have our text features and how nonfiction is organized up here, and then I'm wondering when we start doing our teaching points for the mini lesson, if we were to start with, for example, the structure of it, whatever we teach them in the mini lesson, are they going to be able to take what it is that we taught them and be able to do it for at least 30 whole minutes during the small group independent reading time? Do we trust them enough
they won't
to be able to do that,
they
especially
wouldn't be able
even
to
on
do
the
that.
first, even the second day with nonfiction being so new?
So it's almost like we need to take test prep, since this is explicitly taught, and plus our test prep time is only, 15 minutes? And so that's not going to be enough time to even get into this. So what about,
we take it
move
and
that
move it?
down. So we have our test prep time will now be our readers' time, and then we'll fill in some other things here. So let's see what this is. Readers notice the difference of how nonfiction and fiction are organized. And so we can do that during the mini lesson and then send them off on their own and write some
do
notes
an
about
activity. Exactly.
Okay, and so let's see how Tuesday looks then. Readers can identify specific text features and how these present new information. They can do that.
Yep, they can take Post-its and get a nonfiction and say, oh, this is...
Like a scavenger hunt.
Yep.
Okay, in their own. So in thinking about, before we go a little bit further, in thinking about our test prep time, what about we take some of our vocabulary standards? Because I know on Monday we do our spelling pretest. They're not even really going to have that explicit long vocabulary time.
Right.
So what about taking context clues?
Yep,
And just reading a whole group text together that's on grade level. We can do that under our document camera. Expose them with it, and then say, hey, let's just read this. Let's get exposed to nonfiction. Just what is nonfiction?
And then
Look
take
at
that
this.
text and use it
Down here
for the mini lesson.
Perfect. So let's do for our teaching point up here. Let's see, we're doing context clues with, don't write this yet. I'm just kind of thinking out loud, but like readers can, well, we have with text features. Do you want to use context clues with text features that they won't even have figured out text features?
We could just say readers use, and just say context clues within the nonfiction, not even specifically with the text features. Just say readers use context clues within nonfiction to
determine the meaning of an unknown word.
Right.
Perfect.
So readers use context clues to find the meaning.
Then you know what? While you're writing that,
That's what
instead
I was
of text features, we have this standard RV32, which isn't assessed till C, but obviously we want them to be exposed to it now. Determine the meaning of content-specific words. So you and I, when we're planning out our lesson with this, we can kind of circle a couple words that we want to talk about that are content-specific to that article. And then we don't even have to talk about text features quite yet.
I like it.
Okay, so content-specific words. So now let's look at Monday. Readers use context clues to find the meaning of an unknown word within nonfiction.
Let me add in that word.
Okay. And then we go on to our mini lesson where we pull them up to our carpet. Readers notice the difference between how fiction. We can say, remember how we just did? What did you notice? Here's another one. Yeah. What did you notice about this? And that's what that goes into it easily. Then when they're working on their own, that's when they can look at their own independent book and figure out. And maybe even we can have them write in their notebook. Jot down some other ideas that we can add to our chart tomorrow.
To get it already bounced and ready to go.
Exactly. Okay, so after readers use context clues to find the meaning of an unknown word.
Then maybe we go into...
This could totally be used for another day. At least just another day. Same exact thing.
I mean, because this is going to be a lot of, where we're explicitly teaching them but they're just going to need to practice that. I mean, it's the same thing that we do within when we were using literary texts. So,
plus, I'm thinking too, as you're writing that, I'm thinking, I'm like almost envisioning as this is going on, having a chart. So again, we're at our document camera. We're exposing them to nonfiction. We're talking about some unknown words that we have already pre-selected.
Right.
That chances are they will know anyways, that are content specific. And then maybe we can ask them, how did you figure out the meaning of that word? Talk about it with your table or talk about it with your partner.
On this day.
Yeah. And then add it to a chart. And then the next day, see if we can add to that chart. Yesterday, you guys told me that you used words around in a different sentence surrounding the word. Well, what about if, let's see if we, and we can be purposeful in the ones we choose to make sure that maybe using the same words around the sentence aren't going to give us the clue, but maybe a picture will.
And so that they have to then be like, oh, well, looking at the words around here, reading on or rereading, that didn't work. So what else can we look at?
So we could almost like add to a chart. And so even though it's the same teaching point, we're adding in different strategies and skills that readers do to figure out the meaning of an unknown word. Readers can now look in the sentence for clues, and readers can look at pictures. And this is like your discovery learning that we were talking about earlier. Having the kids figure out. And then adding it to a chart and saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe you just thought of that. That's a totally another way that worked. And then think of how the sense of ownership that they'd feel knowing that they helped us create their chart. Like it wasn't even made for them.
And I like how you said, we're going to have to be purposeful because we're not just going to be able to be like, oh, we're going to use this nonfiction text.
And just figure out a word.
For it because we're really going to have to be conscientious about the fact that we're using a text that doesn't help us figure out if we're just reading around it. We have to go and do this. So
we'll have to find a good text for that one.
Now we need to look.
So if we look about Tuesday, readers use context clues to find the meaning of an unknown word again, but this time, what did you use? A different strategy, a different skill. And then our mini lesson, readers can identify specific text features to present new information. And so they can go off on their own, do like a scavenger hunt type thing in their own book.
And now they know even when they're looking at the different things, when they're reading about something in a caption, if they come across words, they have at least some kind of knowledge, going over it the last couple of days that they can still use so they won't get tripped up on that during that independent time.
Cool. So now in thinking about what we have here, do we want to move this down or is this good here? So in our test prep time, 15 minutes, we got to keep that in mind. Readers use text features to find the main idea. So heading and subheading. I almost think again, mini lesson, it's going to be longer, and we want them to practice finding the main idea using headings and subheadings. So in thinking about content-specific words, context clues with text features,
which that's right here too for this one.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if maybe this day, same type teaching point, but instead of, we'll come up with a different strategy, but again, having the kids use maybe a chart or something else to figure out, so pulling in those text features to figure out the meaning of an unknown word, and then adding to it.
Yep, and then maybe even making it so that they have to use a heading or a subheading, which maybe would go into the next one.
Okay, so
I don't know. I mean,
we'll have to look at it. We want to also make sure that this is separate.
Yeah.
So it's okay that doesn't match up. But again, still finding the meaning of an unknown word. You know what? Another one would be that same root changing.
Because they have to break apart words.
They have to break apart words.
Prefixes and suffixes. So readers, using the same thing, readers use context clues to find the meaning of a known word within nonfiction, but this time when we add to the chart, we want to make sure that we choose words where students, and actually, let me just rewrite that. So, readers use context clues to find the meaning of an unknown word within nonfiction. Let me just rewrite it. Context clues.
Are you thinking more like the root changing, so we're figuring out the meaning based on a word we already know, and just using that same root, but just changing the prefix or suffix to figure out that meaning.
Context is find the meaning of an unknown word.
We could even say just using prefixes and suffixes
Yep.
and root words, you know?
Right.
Just simply root words, prefixes, suffixes. Boys and girls, we've talked about already this year that un means not, and so this one, you know, this word that we're choosing, undesirable or whatever the case may be, we're using those prefixes and suffixes.
Right.
So let's see how Wednesday looks. Readers use context clues to find the meaning of an unknown word within nonfiction using prefixes, suffixes, roots. And then something separate, our mini lesson would be using text features to find the main idea. Using headings and subheadings. Okay.
So then when we're looking across, readers can use text features to find information, charts, graphs, fact box. I feel like this has, I feel like we've kind of already covered that teaching point within
some of those.
What we've done already and how it's organized and what we're going to be talking about. Oh, they had to go to a chart, but
this is something they could do on their own. And say, write down, because this is readers can use text features to find information. Boys and girls, on your own today, readers, I want you to go back with your independent nonfiction book, and I want you to write down 5 facts about some, you know.
This go here, and then the main idea when we come to it go
later on
here, since we want them to be able to do that scavenger type of hunt with these, so that way they know exactly where a heading is and exactly what a subheading is, and then go
but they will have that here on Tuesday,
right?
They can identify specific. So you mean you want to switch these two? Well, let's put this here
at least.
Let me just see. So if we look across here, so you might want to put this here. Readers notice the difference between how fiction and nonfiction is organized on Monday. Tuesday, readers can identify specific text features and how these present new information. So now there's different text features. Oh, I see what you're saying. Readers can use text features to find information. And then the main idea?
Right.
Using.
And then specifically, probably one of the most important things is that readers use those text features like heading and subheading to find the main idea.
So it's almost like finding the details first.
Right.
And once you have your details, now group them together and what's the main idea. I like that.
Yep. And this is something they could also do on their own.
Okay.
We could give them short passages or, sections, and they could even just identify where the heading and subheading is, or they could say, read it with a partner.
Okay.
Like, what could they talk about? Anything.
I like that idea.
A little bit more.
Can we stop?